The film opens with a young Robert Nesta Marley joining his mother as they take a bus from one home to another. This is followed by text explaining how Bob Marley is still known today as Jamaica's biggest star. He grew up from humble beginnings around a time of violence in Jamaica during the 70s after the nation gained its independence from Great Britain. Bob, already well into his career, goes to a press conference after announcing that he is planning to hold a peace concert, Smile Jamaica, to unite the nation in the face of political discourse. Some critics fear that Bob is making it look like his is taking a side. Kingston, 1976. Bob is playing soccer with his friends and sons when thugs start firing their guns in the streets. Bob protects his sons and takes them away, telling them not to worry about what happened. This is also where he starts to come up with 3 little birds. They return to their home, where Bob talks to his wife Rita, as the constant threat of violence around their family puts her on edge. Later, Bob goes to rehearse I Shot the Sheriff with his group, the Wailers. Rita steps out momentarily and sees 2 gunmen running towards the house, while a third aims his gun at her head. The 2 men enter the house and shoot at Bob and his friend Don Taylor, while Rita has also been shot. Despite his injury, Bob rises to his feet and gets Don and Rita to the hospital. Bob sits by Rita's bedside as she lies unconscious. He reminisces about when they were teenagers, played by Kwandajai Enrique and Nia Ashi, and Bob began to court Rita. Following their recoveries, Bob still plans on going forward with the concert. Everyone close to him sees it as a bad idea for his safety and his family's, but he insists on doing it. On the night of the show, Bob goes and performs, but he briefly hallucinates seeing the gunman that shot him in the crowd. He then stops the show and reveals his injuries to the crowd before walking off the stage. Rita tries to comfort him, and Bob says he needs time to himself. 3 months later, Bob travels to London with some of his friends. While there, they are arrested for possession of cannabis. In jail, Bob recalls how Rita first brought him into the Rastafari movement. He also thinks about witnessing his father abandon him and his mother when he was a child, and he refused to acknowledge Bob as his son. Later, Bob talks to his producer Chris Blackwell over ideas for a new album. Rita joins him in London while Bob and the Wailers are trying to come up with a new sound. Bob listens to the soundtrack to the film Exodus and starts to come up with his own song of the same name. With help from publicist Howard Bloom, the group makes their next album, Exodus, which becomes a worldwide best-selling hit. Following the album's success, Bob goes on a tour throughout Europe in 1977. Although he sees much more success and popularity, Bob is seen engaging in an affair with a woman, Cindy Breakspear. During a pickup game of soccer, Bob is seen stumbling after an injury, but he brushes it off. Chris invites Bob and company to an event. While there, Bob gets jealous at seeing Rita talking to another man. When he goes outside to confront her, she in turn hits back at him with the knowledge of his own multiple affairs and the children he has produced as a result. Rita slaps Bob and also tells him to keep an eye out for Don, as he is doing some shady businesses behind Bob's back. After another show, Bob confronts Don backstage over what Rita told him. He begins to physically attack Don before his bandmates and Rita pull Bob off of him. Not long after, Bob visits a doctor after Rita and Chris express concerns over a dark spot on Bob's toe where he injured himself during the pickup game. The doctor informs Bob that he has melanoma, and while it was recommended that he have the toe removed to stop the cancer from spreading, Bob declines and is left in a state of despair over the news. He talks to Rita, who gives him her own little speech and inspires him to return home to Jamaica. 1978, Bob makes his return to Jamaica, with a huge crowd gathering for him as the plane lands. Bob visits his old home, which is now empty. The same gunman that shot him enters the house, asking Bob for forgiveness. Bob says he holds no vengeance in his heart. Later, Bob sits with Rita and their sons around a campfire as he comes up with redemption song. Rita says that Bob is ready to perform again. Bob and the Wailers later get ready as they gather for a large crowd in Jamaica for a new show. He then gets up to perform One Love. Ending text states that Bob Marley passed away on May 11, 1981 from his cancer. However, footage is shown from his One Love concert where he brought together leaders of opposing political parties as a symbol of unity. It is also stated that Time magazine called Exodus one of the greatest albums of all time.